Why do e-commerce businesses fail on YouTube? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, someone who's been on YouTube for over 15 years and basically grew up on the platform. It seems like an obvious play and something that everybody should be doing. It's like a low-hanging fruit. But for some reason, a lot of e-commerce companies can't crack the code. Let's talk about it. It doesn't really make any sense, right? YouTube's supposed to be this huge channel where tons of people are consuming content every single day, and it seems like that's where the eyeballs are at, right? Like, you'd want to be wherever the eyeballs are. Traditionally, it was magazines, billboards, anywhere where people were going to be looking at things. And it could have been entertainment, it could have been news, it could have been just casual, there's a billboard right there. Anywhere where there was eyeballs was traditionally fair game for advertisement or for promotion or for educating a potential customer on your product. And so YouTube is a natural, perfect fit for that, right? It's essentially TV nowadays. It's the same kind of media consumption patterns. There's a lot of entertainment, there's a lot of news, there's a lot of anybody could do anything on YouTube. You can start your own YouTube channel and do whatever you want on it. So actually it's better than what old media was, legacy media in terms of television, because you don't have to just go with what the networks are doing. You can make your own content. And so when we're thinking about business and YouTube, it seems so obvious, right? But what's not obvious is actually making the content. And that's where I see most businesses struggling. Is it's obvious that there's an opportunity on YouTube for business to educate about their product and sell their product, but it's not so obvious how to actually do it. And a lot of organizations aren't equipped to really take on the opportunity. So there's three main things that I see as a reason why you see like businesses that you'd think would just be perfect for YouTube not capitalizing on YouTube or not even going on YouTube at all. There's like two camps or maybe even three camps. There's the kind of business that just doesn't even attempt a YouTube strategy at all. Then there is the business that is on YouTube, but maybe they put a bunch of money into it like 5 years ago and then they just stopped altogether. They thought, oh, we did what we needed to do, we're done. And then there's the company that maybe continues to have a strategy going, but it's just not hitting. It's not really getting to the people that need to see it for one reason or another. And then there's the fourth business, which is actually killing it on YouTube. And all the other businesses just wonder, how in the heck do they do that? We're busy, we got orders, we got this, we got that. How do we do YouTube when we're so busy all the time? So in this video, I'm gonna hit on the three reasons why businesses fail on YouTube. And at the end, I'm gonna tell you what you can do to get past all the obstacles that most businesses hit and can't push through. The first obstacle is time. Time is the most obvious obstacle because any successful business that may even have the budget to go into YouTube, they're gonna say, well, we don't have any time. We're fulfilling orders. We've got lots of opportunities in other areas that are actually gonna affect our top line and a lot quicker in the short term. And they're kind of calling our name. It's like a fire that we need to put out. And so they go right for that immediately. That's the priority. And that's naturally what their priority should be. It should be doing the things that made them who they are as a business. And so that makes sense. And I would agree that that is a good priority to have. And that's what's going to continue to make their business thrive. YouTube does take time, and it's a risky endeavor if you're just going into it without any experience. So a lot of a lot of businesses, online businesses, have a marketing department and they have a digital marketing team. And they're proven in paid ads, maybe even traditional legacy ads. They know that really well. They know how to market in the paid ad sphere, but they're not too good at organic. They may have a social media thing going on, but they may be outsourcing that, and they may not be seeing a ton of great results from it. And maybe they continue to push it because they believe, okay, we need to be on social media, we need to be on Facebook and Instagram, but they're not too motivated to extend much further than that because they haven't seen any like gangbusters awesome opportunity come up, and they're not equipped for it. So they're just a little reluctant to get involved with something that's going to require some extra time, and they don't want to use their existing talent to go on this new adventure and see if it's going to work. Some companies have a higher risk tolerance, but for the most part, they don't want to dip their toes in very far if they do at all. So time is number one. Then second is talent. I touched on that a little bit, but this idea that they've got people in-house that maybe understand marketing really well, and maybe they do have some soft skills, some hard skills that would get them in the door with video, YouTube videos, but they're just not confident in it because there's nobody on their team that is proven to do well with YouTube videos. There's a limited pool of people that have a proven ability to grow a YouTube channel at all. So the likelihood that somebody in-house has proven that they can succeed on YouTube it's very slim chances that you're going to find somebody like that in-house. And then there's the question of, okay, maybe they were successful at making YouTube videos about baking cakes or about doing something kind of entertainment focused, hobby focused, but what about this? What about our B2B offering? Or what about something, our business, like we can't think of a way that this could be entertaining. So we're actually doing something that seems a little bit harder to come across on YouTube, which a lot of businesses, that's the truth. It is sometimes tricky to figure out where that market fit is on YouTube, that minimum viable video or minimum viable idea on YouTube can be a little bit tricky to come up with. And it seems like it'd be a challenge to make that work. And so even if there's somebody on their team where it's like, hey, I've got 20,000 followers doing some knitting or whatever thing I like to do in my off time, the company may still think like, okay, well, are you making money? Are you making sales? And this is kind of like, it seems like this is kind of a trend, but our business isn't a trend. It's something that is time tested. It works, but it's not trendy. It's not going to hit the Explore tab or the For You page like maybe, basket weaving would or whatever it is, right? Something that is people are interested in and it's a hobby of a lot of people. So that is the second thing, is talent. Do you have the talent? Can you find the talent? And then the third thing that stops everybody, even if they have those two things, maybe in-house, there is somebody where they're like, okay, we can afford the time, we have some talent, but consistency. Can we consistently pull somebody that's in-house and has talent in another area away and do this other thing? Say we check the two boxes, we've got somebody that knows that we're confident can do these things in-house, or we find somebody, we bring somebody in that we're confident to do in-house, but can we do it consistently? Can this be successful consistently? Can we produce this content consistently? Sometimes that's the biggest hurdle. You see channels where maybe they were hitting it off for like 2 years. They were just go. They were putting out lots of content and it was really valuable and it was getting a lot of traction. But then out of nowhere, there's no more videos coming out from that channel. And maybe it'll go years and years and years, no more videos. A lot of times you find that person in-house, or you find that person, maybe they're a freelancer. And it's hard to keep that going for more than a couple years. But it's so important to keep things going for a couple years, because at 2 years, you're really starting to hit your stride. At 2 years, you're really, really, really getting things going, and it's starting to compound, and you're starting to gain an audience if you're consistent on, a multiple times a month basis with your uploads. You're going to get fans at 2 to 3 years. No matter your industry, it could be the most boring industry. It could be about plastic moldings or something B2B, or something that you just think, oh no, nobody would be a fan of this. Well, if you do excellent content consistently for multiple years, you will cultivate an audience. It's almost guaranteed. Anybody that has tried it for multiple years consistently, they've found their niche on YouTube. But most people don't do it that long consistently. Sometimes they'll get to a year, 2 years, and then it falls off, and then it becomes inconsistent. Maybe they keep going, but it's too inconsistent going forward. So how can you actually take this time, talent, consistency, these 3 things, and turn it into something actionable that you can use to drive business for you? So in my personal experience of 15 years on YouTube, at the beginning of YouTube, I just started posting as a joke. YouTube originally was a lot of just for fun, joke content. That's really how it started out. And there wasn't a lot of people really driving business, or at least anybody who was an early adopter. It wasn't well known that you could do this. And I was probably 10 years old. So we were just having fun as kids. And whenever I was together with friends, we would make some videos and just randomly post them on YouTube. There was no real time that was put into making them high quality. We were just throwing things up as a joke. There was no talent involved. None of us were actually talented at these things. I was probably 10 or 11 years old. No talent involved, and no consistency. We were just kids. It was just kind of whenever we got together and were able to get the camera and put something together, but no consistency to it. It was just completely random. Then later on, as I got a little older, I decided to actually put some effort into making videos, and it was for tech. I was really pumped about the iPod Touch that I got, and I wanted to just share it with everybody that I possibly could. And so I made a channel about iPod accessories, iPod apps, all that, everything around having an iPod Touch or an iPhone. And so I became really consistent with it. And I put that consistency to the test. Now, I didn't have a lot of talent, but I did put some time into it, and I maybe not as much as I should have, but I did. And I was definitely as consistent. I was pretty dang consistent on that first channel. That was called. Then I kind of lost steam on that because I wasn't getting a lot of success. I was actually emailing companies. It's really funny. I was emailing companies. I still have the emails, and it was hilarious that there was companies that were actually willing to send me product to review because I could barely type. I could barely write. Looking at the emails now, it's a joke that anybody took me seriously. But there was actually companies that sent me products, and I would review them. But yeah, there was no money. There was no way for me to make money from that. Then I actually lost steam on that because it didn't seem like it was going anywhere. I was making connections. I got subscribers. Some videos got quite a few views, but nothing really seemed to be taking off like I expected it to. And so I opened this new channel, and the whole idea of this channel was to forget the quick, just consistent posting and just focus on quality. So I put a lot of time and a lot of quality. So I switched. I went from being consistent and maybe spending a little, quite a bit of time, but mainly just consistent. And I said, no, I'm going to forget the consistent thing, and I'm just going to go all in on quality and time. And that worked a little bit. I saw a little bit more success per video, but I was putting out less videos. And ultimately, I didn't find a way to monetize that. But I did figure out that if you put a lot of time, which I didn't previously, and a lot of skill, I had more talent at this point, you could get more bang for your buck out of a video. I just couldn't figure out the consistency thing. because I actually, for the first time, produced some content on this second channel that was evergreen. It was able to get views for years and years and years to come. Whereas all my other videos, they would get a bunch of views maybe in the first couple weeks, and then they would just peter out, and there was nothing left of it. After that, those videos basically died. They didn't get any views. But I figured out how to actually make videos that, based on the title, based on the topic, and based on how much effort you put into it, you could actually make a video that would have staying power. It would stay relevant for 5-10 years. And so this really got me to understand that, okay, so if you just put those three pieces together, because I didn't have the consistency part, but if I did put the consistency on there, and then I just kept that going and going and going, wow, the results would have been incredible. But I didn't. I pivoted again to doing a website called battlefieldlog.com. And this website did pretty well, but I was writing a lot of articles, and I was also doing YouTube videos, but then I stopped doing the YouTube videos and just focused on the articles. Whereas looking back now, I wish I would have continued the videos. It would have been a really good idea, but I didn't. I don't think I had the capacity to do it because I was writing so many articles, and really I was focused on the website, the blog part of it. But I learned a lot about keywords. I learned a lot about SEO. I learned a lot about how to title things and basically how to get people's attention. And so all that wrapped together to when I finally got some success, and that was with dripdepot.com. Now, dripdepot.com had been around since 2004. They're an irrigation retailer, just purely online. They're just a niche e-commerce retailer, and they had success. They're doing pretty well for themselves. They're an SMB, but doing very well for themselves. And one of the things that they really did well with early on, like way back early 2009 on YouTube, was they made a bunch of YouTube videos about how to do certain things with irrigation. They're basically a DIY store where people can go and just DIY their own irrigation. And so naturally they made videos on that, but it was just self-produced. It was just stuff that like the founder and maybe a couple other people worked on for a while. They put a bunch of content out, very low, not really any talent, not putting a ton of time into it, but more than a lot of e-commerce companies do. And they weren't consistent. They just put a bunch of content out and then just sat on that content because they thought, okay, we got what we need. We did the basics. That's all we're going to do. And we don't have time to do it either, right? Because they were operating the business. And then, so fast forward from 2009 all the way until 2022. And those original videos that they had produced are still the videos that are on their channel. And a lot of them did pretty decent for what they were, even though there wasn't really much time put into them, and there wasn't any talent behind producing the content. And they realized that they needed to get on the YouTube wave because there was other scrappy startups that were using YouTube to a big advantage. And I'll talk about them next. But essentially, they said, okay, we want to bring you in and we want to totally start from scratch and just do all the content we can with a personality. In this case, Adam, he's an excellent personality, and he's just a inside sales guy, customer service guy that works at Drip Depot and has just a great, fun personality, and he was willing to be on camera and do these videos. And they were willing to invest a bunch in these videos because they saw the writing on the wall that, hey, YouTube video is really important, and we need to get back on this because it worked for us originally, but we see that now if you just put a bunch of effort into it, you can get something out of it. So they bring me in, and Drip Depot was at about 7,000 subscribers when we first started this journey, and now Drip Depot is at over 31,000, and by the end of this year, we're looking at possibly 40 to 41,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So in a matter of 2.5, 3 years, that's like a 4x, a little bit over a 4x of subscribers. there's actually on the horizon is getting a play button, getting to 100,000 subscribers, which is just really crazy for a small, scrappy, small business startup. And irrigation of all places. Irrigation, boring, dry. There's really nothing about irrigation that you'd think, oh yeah, that would do great on YouTube, because YouTube is dominated by like fashion and beauty and fitness and just all the kind of hype, exciting things. Like really irrigation. But we've found the niche, and I've done a lot of work to make sure that we're going in the right direction with that. And so there's been a lot of success there. And you could see a lot of examples of YouTubers that want to cross over into e-commerce. And especially what I've found in the garden niche, there's a lot of YouTubers that are just quickly crossing over into running their own e-commerce stores and actually being retail distributors and suppliers of gardening products. Not just affiliate, not just some branded merch or like a niche item. They're full on going up and looking to compete with Home Depot, Lowe's, big box stores, hardware stores, and garden centers. And so I see this happening everywhere on YouTube. Some niches are more mature than others. There's some niches where maybe distribution is a little bit easier, or the products are a little bit easier to distribute. And so this is happening quicker, but I see this happening everywhere eventually, where YouTubers have the audience, they have the market locked down, they figured out the marketing part, and all they have to do is figure out fulfillment, logistics, distribution, and they've got it. And now we're seeing with Shopify and all these platforms, we're seeing AI be able to essentially, and we're still in the early stages with AI, but we're seeing how AI can basically just create a store for somebody with little experience. They can plug it into Shopify on the back end. And if they've got an audience, they can compete with Walmart, Home Depot, all these big guys, at least on the internet, with e-commerce. Now, Walmart, Home Depot, all these guys, they're going to have the advantage on margin. They're going to have the advantage on distribution, logistics, all that. They've got the experience, but people more and more are trusting other people than organizations that there's no face behind it. Now, I believe that a big organization like the Home Depot can compete, but they have to get big on YouTube. They have to get big on social video and having personality, not just like random personalities bringing them in to boost. Like, say like Miracle-Gro right now has brought in Martha Stewart, which I think is smart, and they're doing videos, but I don't think they're really doing it effectively. They're just trying to leverage her name. I don't know if that's going to work because there's such a big upfront cost to it, and you really don't need the well-known name. I think that's a quick way to get a boost, but and especially if you're in an industry where celebrity endorsements are a big deal. But for the most part, I think you can just bring somebody in that's just an expert, and if you portray them in the right way, people will connect. People over time, if you're consistent, you show the talent and the time put into it, people will connect with whoever. It could be just random people. I mean, YouTube has proven that. It's just random people. It's just random people on YouTube that are gaining followings. People are trusting them. And now these random people are starting e-commerce stores, and they're competing with the big guys the incumbents that have been around for a long time. So the example of this in gardening would be, I mean, there's a number of examples. I've got gardening because I've been really focused on gardening. And so I can give you some gardening examples. There are examples of this in pretty much any niche. And like I said, some are easier to penetrate than others right now. Epic Gardening is the biggest example. Kevin Espiritu, he started from just nothing, gardening in his backyard, making videos. He eventually started a blog, started getting contributors on the blog, grew this YouTube channel, had a lot of evergreen content that he was building up on YouTube and on his blog. And then he crossed over to selling products directly from his website. Instead of just being an affiliate marketer, he decided to cut out the affiliate and just go straight to distribution, direct to consumer. And that worked. He grew the business, and now he actually he sold to private equity and actually acquired Botanical Interest, one of the biggest seed distributors to garden centers. And now he's able to use his YouTube channel to not only promote shop.epicgardening.com, which sells a lot of garden supplies, metal raised beds, which are a big thing in gardening right now, but also seeds, which are huge for gardening. Selling seeds is huge. And because he was able to acquire Botanical Interest was already in thousands, tens of thousands of garden centers around the country. So they already had distribution. He essentially acquired distribution and fulfillment and wholesale from a brand that was already well known. And now he's launching Epic Gardening lines of seeds that are more focused on entry-level gardeners, which he's capturing through YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all these video platforms. So they have grown. I've seen all these different figures, and we don't really know because they're a private company. But at first I was seeing figures of like 7 million, 8 million a year revenue. Then I started seeing 10 million plus revenue. And now, and I think this is because of the Botanical Interest acquisition, they're talking 100 million plus revenue for Epic Gardening. And this all started as a YouTube channel, a blog, and has just grown from there. All from one personality, Kevin Espiritu. He's now grown it into a network of contributors on the YouTube channel, just like a blog would have a network of contributors on the blog. And he's going to be, you know, if this trajectory continues, he's going to be cutting in to the sales pretty big of some of these big box stores. He's just one of the stories. There's M.I. Gardener, there's James Prigioni, there's Garden Answer. There's all these different personalities that are killing it on the gardening YouTube and are, I would say they're threatening some of the incumbents in the garden supply space. Now there's things that they can't really do online yet, but if you're looking 10, 20 years out, with drone deliveries the way they're going, I think you're going to get rid of a lot of the supply chain issues with distributing maybe large bulky products, wholesale stuff, and just the cost in general of shipping and the inconvenience of it. This time, like right now, unless someone's going to pay expedited shipping, which can still be slow. I mean, you could still pay for 1 day shipping, and if you do it on a Friday late enough, a customer will think they're going to get it in 1 day and they end up getting it in 3. That still happens. And you know that if you do e-commerce, right? But who's to say in 5-10 years we don't get the drones? I don't know if you guys have seen the drones that are out there. Now, originally they were doing drones where they would drop it from a parachute and it would come down, and you think that's just ridiculous. Well, now they've got these drones, and I can't remember the company. Maybe I'll remember the company and put it on screen. But they have drones that fly really fast, like not like a quadcopter, but then they're able to transition into a quadcopter, hover hundreds of feet up in the air so you can't even hear them, you can barely even see them, and then they deploy a line down with the product hanging on this line, and they drop it. And they could do this in stormy, windy weather, everything. And then that thing just opens up, drops the product, pulls it back up, goes away. There's very little risk of the drone crashing. It doesn't have to get down into the tree canopies of suburban areas or anything like that. It can just hover hundreds of feet up in the air. It's coming. It's coming, and we're going to see really fast shipping. We're going to see really cheap shipping, and we're going to see just huge supply chain fulfillment revolution happening in the next 10 years. And so while right now it doesn't make sense to completely usurp the big box brick and mortar retailers right now, the opportunity is coming. And so you see these personalities like Epic Gardening, they're coming. And if these other e-commerce companies, the traditional ones that maybe started in the early 2000s and got their success with pay-per-click and maybe even email marketing, you're going to see a shift where if you're not doing something in the social video space, you're going to get beat by these guys that have followings and then realize, oh, I could just use AI, Shopify, spin this thing up real quick. I can totally get rid of affiliate marketing. I can get a much bigger margin, and I can use these different services to essentially just fulfill products that my customers, that my audience wants. And I don't need to do the whole affiliate marketing thing. I can cut all that out. There's going to be enough people doing that. It's going to be a big thorn in your side. And what you really need to do is find a way to solve those three things with video so that you can actually do it, because all those other guys, they solved that part. They're just trying to figure out the e-commerce game. And you know it's only a matter of time that they will, because you at one time were trying to figure out the e-commerce game. And you know that eventually all the problems are solvable. And with the tools that are coming out these days, they're solvable much quicker than they ever have been when you were scrapping it out maybe in the early 2000s. So time, talent, and consistency. It's going to be really tough when all these YouTubers are going into e-commerce and they're able to leverage these Shopify's and these AI things to be able to spin stores up really quickly. So you need to be able to spin up YouTube and social video really quickly. And that's where an expert comes in. You need to find somebody that's an expert. Now, I have an e-commerce content newsletter called Creator Commerce that you can subscribe to down in the description below. I got a link to it. That's where I'm going to be sharing different insights and different actionable things that you can actually implement into your business and start using social video to your advantage. Instead of sitting around while these YouTubers and these TikTokers find ways to eat your lunch, you're actually going to get in the trenches and compete with them, where right now they don't have a lot of competition. They're able to just run the gamut, because all these e-commerce companies that actually have the leverage, actually have the expertise, have actually figured it all out, are just sitting around doing pay-per-click, having a great old time while everything is being disrupted around us. Don't be disrupted just like you disrupted back in the early 2000s. You don't want to be that. You want to be continually finding ways to use your advantage to make sure you don't get disrupted, right? So that's all I have for today. Click like on this video if it helped you out. Click the notification bell if you want to see more of this content. And comment down below if you have a story of how maybe social video didn't work for you. Maybe you tried it before. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested to see what business owners or marketing leads have tried and maybe succeeded with or failed with. I'm really just curious what everybody has to say. And that's all I got for today. I'll see you in the next one.